Everyone. In our previous screencast, we've discussed the main features of the IPT and we also had a quick tour of the user interface. But now it's time to actually perform our first publishing. To do this publishing, we'll need two things. We'll need an IPT instance to access. Here it is. And we'll also need, of course, a dataset to publish. We decided to publish a dataset about Coccinellidae, so ladybird beetles occurring in Belgium. And to prepare this publication, I have visited the scientist who's responsible of this dataset. And I've actually collected a lot of information about it because I know I will need them later. So I wrote all that in a Word document here. I have, for example, an abstract or contact information or many other informations about the dataset that will be needed. But this person also told me that the data is not ready yet. There's an ongoing digitization effort. There's some cleaning and data validation needed. So the data is not ready yet, but they'd like to publish as soon as possible. In that case, I suggested that we publish a metadata only dataset now, and then later on we'll be able to attach real data to it. So let's go. The first thing I need to do is connect to my IPT instance. So I type my credentials and I click the login button. Now we will have to create a new resource or a new dataset. Those words are synonyms in the IPT. I go to the Manage Resource page, and at the bottom of this page, I have a form to create a new resource. I have to select just two things. I have to give a short name, which is very simple, using only letters, numbers, underscores, things like that. It's not the real title of the dataset, but it's a short identifier. So I will call it Belgian ladybirds. And I have to choose the dataset type. I have checklist, sampling, event, metadata only, other, and occurrences. In that case, we'd say it's a metadata only dataset because we don't have the data yet. There's an option to load a file already, but I suggest you to ignore it for now. This is for advanced use only. So we can click now the create button to actually create our new dataset in the IPT. After this, we arrive on this resource overview page, which is really important, and I really encourage you to have a look at it because you will use it a lot when publishing data using the IPT. Basically, all your dataset configuration will happen here on this page. I have the title. I know it's the Belgian ladybird dataset. I have a section here on an edit button to add metadata. I have published version. It is used to publish the data. I have some visibility settings and I can configure resource managers. What we'll do here is simply take those sections in order. Let's first start with the metadata section. I have a small warning sign here. If I click, the IPT tells me that the resource is missing mandatory metadata. And yeah, actually, we discussed in the concepts video that every time you want to publish a dataset at GBIF, you have to provide at least some basic metadata. I will now click the edit button. And I am now on a page that allows me to enter basic metadata about this dataset. We can have a quick look. I have to select a few things like the publishing organization. I have to give a description, some resource contacts, some metadata providers, and that's all. So the metadata is divided in several sections. This is the basic one. It's the most basic information, and it's also the mandatory section. If you look at the right of the screen, you can access other sections describing geographic coverage, taxonomic coverage, keyword citation, and so on. That's a way to author more metadata. What we'll do now is take this form in order and fill all the informations, taking our source metadata in the Word document that I collected when I visited the responsible person. I first have to give a title to the dataset. It's pre-filled with the short name, but we want something longer here. For example, Belgian Coccinellidae ladybird beetles of Belgium. I have to choose a publishing organization because an IPT can publish on behalf of several organizations. So we have to say which one of the installed will hold this data set. Here I have only test organization number 1. It's a test IPT. I have to choose a dataset type. It's metadata only for the moment. I have to tell in which language the metadata is. It's in English, so I can let it here. I can tell at which frequency I plan to update the dataset. It's not nothing will be done automatically there, but it's just to give a hint to your users. So we don't really know here. So I will let the unknown value. Then we have to choose a data license for the dataset. It's mandatory now at GBIF. And I can see that when I discussed with the responsible person, he told me that he wanted to put everything in the public domain, in the CC0, Creative Commons 0 license. So I can choose it here, public domain, CC0. And then I can add a description of the dataset. So it's like a short abstract. I also have collected that information here. I will copy paste it. Then I have to give resource contact information. That's really important because that's the way your data users will be able to contact you if they have any question or concern or remark about the data. So I can add a new contact person. I need to enter first name, last name, position, and so on. I also have all this information here. The contact person is Tim Adrians. He's a researcher at the Research Institute for Nature and Forest. I will skip the address just to be efficient. And I will also add contact email address. So now I have a first resource contact. I will also add a resource creator, which is basically the person who's responsible for the dataset. I have another form here. If the same person is the contact and the creator, I can use the copy details from resource contact button. So the IPT fills it automatically. And then I have to give a metadata provider, which is the person who's authoring the metadata. So in that case, it's me. So I will not copy the details from the other person, but I will enter my own. I will also keep it short here. Here it is. So I think I filled all the important information in this basic metadata page. So I will click on the Save button at the bottom. And it's accepted. I have a message saying basic metadata section successfully saved. Now I can see I am on another metadata page, which is about geographic coverage. So I can give a bounding box, giving the extent of the dataset, and I can also give a textual description of the geographic coverage. So I already have this information. I also have this information in my Word document here. I have a small text saying that the dataset deals with ladybird occurrences in Belgium, and that this subset is pertaining to Flanders, which is one region of Belgium. So I will copy paste the description here, and I can simply on the box here, I can draw and give the geographic extent on the map directly. So select and say this is only Flanders, the north part of Belgium. So I draw the bounding box, I put a description, and I can now save this text on this geographic coverage section. I also have a success message, and now I am in the next one, the taxonomic coverage. Here, the scientists told me that they were dealing. I don't have that information. Yes, I have this information here. We are dealing with a family called Coccinellidae. So I can add a new taxonomic coverage and say that we are talking about family, and the scientific name is Coccinellidae, and this is the ladybird beetles. The common name is ladybird beetles. And I can save my taxonomic coverage. It's now saved. There are much more metadata available. I really encourage you to fill as much as possible. This is very important. But for the exercise here, we will stop. So we have filled some basic metadata, which is mandatory, some information about the geographic coverage, and the taxonomic coverage of our dataset. Now I will click again on the title of the dataset. So I will go back to the main resource management page. Okay, we've now authored some metadata, and we will continue filling the different sections of this page in order. So the next one is published version, and there's a very important publish button. Now I have to give a bit of warning. The publish button will not make it immediately available at GBIF. It means publish internally, publish in the IPT, but connecting it to GBIF will only happen later. So I click on the publish button, and the IPT asks me to summarize the changes. It's useful when you do different versions, but here I will just say first revision metadata only. That gives a nice history of the dataset. And I will click yes, I want to publish. And I have a success message here saying me publishing version 1 of resource Belgian ladybirds finished successfully. So now my resource is available internally into the IPT, but I want to make it available to the rest of the world. I go to the next section that says visibility is private. And I have a public button here. So if I click on it, my resource is now public. But public is still not visible at GBIF. To actually make it public at GBIF, we'll have to click the register button that is still here in this visibility section. But I have a warning message here, and the warning message tells me the resource cannot be published because the current published version is not publicly available. That sometimes happens with the current IPT version. It's a bit, there's a small workaround. You will have to publish again. So I will go back to the previous section, click again on the publish button, give a message, published again, click on the yes message. Now it's republished, and I can change the visibility again, and I have a register button. If I click this register button, the IPT asks me confirmation that I agree to share my data on GBIF. So I can confirm that I have read and understood the terms and click yes. Yeah, I have a small error message here because of my network connection, but otherwise the publication is now complete. So yeah, there's a bit of confusion between the publish section and the visibility. In summary, you need to publish the data to make it available locally. Then you have to make it public, so it's made available to users that are not logged to the IPT. Then you have to register it to GBIF, and sometimes to register you have to republish in between. Only when you have done all this, the data is really public. So we've now created a data set, authored metadata, published it, made it public and visible at GBIF. So we have a first successful data set publication. Thank you.